Before you begin your research project, it is important to know how to evaluate online resources. I'm Mrs. Reinhold, your teacher librarian, and I'm going to review this with you. I have given your teachers a sort of cheat sheet on how to evaluate your online resources, but remember, you will have to be the final judge. If it looks sketchy, err on the side of caution and look for another resource. This in the upper left-hand corner is the sort of cheat sheet that your teachers have access to. The first thing we're going to discuss is the URL, or the actual web address. We need to verify that the source comes from a credible creator or author who has expertise in the area that we are researching. For example, we are going to pretend that we are looking for information on elephants. The first website we go to is worldwildlife.org. I look at the web address and I see that it ends in org, which means organization, and I know this means I need to verify the information. So I look at the About Us section. I notice that there's a history as well as an experts section underneath this tab. I see under experts that they list their employees along with their titles and a form of contact information. It's a good sign to see that they're taking ownership for their work, but I want to dig a little further. So I go back up to the top and I look under history. Under history, I notice that there is a timeline. This timeline lists certain things like world wildlife events, accomplishments, and research. So far, I feel like the creators of this website are pretty credible. I would do the same check for all of my resources. So for example, my next resource is National Geographic. As I look for an About section on National Geographic, I don't find one at the top, so I know immediately that I should scroll to the bottom. This is a common place for this section. I see the About section and I click on it. This section lists information about the organization as well as information about their research. I also see, as I go back, right next to the About section, there was a Contact section. It's always good if you have contact information for the organization or company that's doing the research. So far, National Geographic looks like a good website as well. My third site is a blog about elephants. I look for information on the creator or the author. At the top I see nothing, so I scroll down. As I scroll down, I see a profile page for the author. When I click on the profile page, I do see a list of the author's passion. It lists a lot of passions, but nothing about elephants and nothing about the author being an expertise. There are no credentials, and this site so far isn't looking credible to me, but we still have more work to do to find out. Now that we've gone over URL and the website, whether it's from a credible source or author, we're going to move on to the second point, which is bias or purpose. Here's where we want to make sure the site isn't selling us something or trying to get us to believe something with a bias. The World Wildlife site, if we can get back to that, has no ads or pop-ups. As it comes up, you'll see that there are really only facts. As we scroll down to read about the elephants, we see maps, we see facts along the side, and the article and the text is full of informational facts. World Wildlife is looking good again, but we gotta double check National Geographic and our elephant blog. As I click on National Geographic, I see something a little different than World Wildlife. Along the top, in just a second, you will see some ads pop up. This isn't necessarily a red flag. We just have to see, are the ads distracting? I noticed earlier that there were ads along the side of the page as well. Also, as I look at the ads, they're not trying to get me to purchase anything that has anything to do with what the article is about, which is also a good sign. So not only are they not distracting, but they're also not trying to get me to buy something with any bias. The next one we want to review would be the blog about elephants. So as I look at the blog about elephants, I notice that there aren't any pop-ups or ads, and the information at first glance might seem to be factual. However, as I read, I see a lot of opinion in the article rather than fact. For example, elephants need our help more now than ever. I also see a couple other things in here that leads me to believe the author is using opinion rather than facts. Again, this article doesn't seem to be a credible one and is probably not something that I would use for my research. This is the overall image or look of the website. We want to steer clear of misspellings, broken links, or unprofessional designs such as glittery buttons or animation. As we look at World Wildlife, it looks credible. It looks professional, and we notice that the text is spelled correctly. As I look through the article, I like to point out that everything looks like it goes together. The graphics are of high quality, and it looks like an overall professional site. As we go to the next site, we're on National Geographic. Again, as we glance at this, as it loads, you'll see it does look professional as well. It has tabs at the top that's organized neatly, and it has high quality images. The fonts are coordinating, and it looks all together like a professional site. Although we did point out that it has advertisements, again, they're not distracting and they go along with the overall image of the website. The final one we want to look at is the blog. At first glance, the blog might appear okay, but with closer inspection, we see that there are several mistakes. In the first sentence, the author uses the number 2 instead of the word 2, and remember, anything under 10 is spelled out. Also, as I looked at the description of the blog, I noticed that the description has nothing to do with elephants, so that immediately gives me a little bit of a red flag, as well as the author capitalizes movies, books, and nature, and none of those are proper nouns. So far, I haven't felt secure in this credibility of this website, so I would immediately rule this one out for my research. The last step in verifying your sources is the most important one. That's to double check the information within the source. So we've decided that we would use World Wildlife and National Geographic, but probably not the blog. To complete our last step, we would just need to look at the information in the 2 sites that we've decided we're going to use and verify our facts. An example would be that as I looked, I noticed that both World Wildlife and National Geographic list that there are 2 different species of elephants, and those are the African and the Asian elephants. I would just continue to double check all of the information that I would use in my research to be sure everything was accurate. I hope that clears up how to verify an online source. If you have any questions, please ask me or one of your teachers and we will be able to help you out.